So today is a birthday of sorts for the United States, in that December 7th marks the day that the first state agreed to be part of the United States by ratifying the Constitution, and that state, somewhat surprisingly, was Delaware. So there was a lot of states that were trying to kind of ratify the Constitution quickly. They wanted that, you know, pride of being able to say that they're the first state to have done it. And Pennsylvania was the state that was really working the hardest, which for a lot of people kind of makes sense. Philadelphia was our sort of first capital, and one of their thoughts was that if they were the first to ratify the Constitution, they could kind of be guaranteed that Philadelphia would stay the capital. But Delaware had that same thought. They thought if they ratified it first, they would be able to cede some land and become the capital in Delaware, which of course didn't happen. Neither, of course, did Philadelphia. But the Constitution wasn't really a big debate for Delaware. It kind of benefited them a lot. They were a small state. They were a newly formed state, as they broke off originally from Pennsylvania. And they saw things like the Senate, where they would get to have two delegates by being, a really small state. They saw, the kind of free trade between states when they were paying a lot of duties to Pennsylvania before under the Articles of Confederation. They saw all these things and thought the Constitution was an easy win for them. So they raced Pennsylvania to the polls, or to their own kind of constitutional convention in Delaware, and ratified it first, which is why Delaware gets to be the first state. And, at things like inaugurations, they get to be the first people to have representatives there. But the debate wasn't so easy everywhere else. There's actually a really great book. It's my favorite book that I read in all of undergrad while studying history, and it's called Ratification by Pauline Maier. And it really settles how the bigger debate of the Constitution wasn't actually at the Constitutional Convention. It was at each of the 13 state conventions on whether or not they should ratify the Constitution, because it didn't have easy support from all 13 states. It did in New England. Kind of all of New England agreed for it, let alone Rhode Island, who was actually the 13th and kind of final state to ratify it. But, through the Mid-Atlantic and the South, they were not necessarily pro-Constitution right away, and it was a big deal to have their conventions and actually get it ratified. And there were a couple holdouts at the end. Like I said, Rhode Island, who really ultimately only ratified the Constitution because everybody else did, and it was not in their interest to be left out. I mean, Rhode Island as its own country wouldn't have worked very well. So if you want to read more about ratification on a state-by-state basis, how each, state went through it, again, I recommend Ratification by Pauline Maier. And, today recognize that Delaware became the first state of the United States of America.